Hello, everyone. Grayson here. So I've added Jungle Jargon here, who wanted to have a debate on evolution and creation. Anything in specific that you wanted to talk about, Jungle?
Oh, a debate, official debate? No, we were talking about SNPs. Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't need to have like it can be informal, just like a back and forth. We don't need a like debate with long intros and openings and everything like that.
Um, I didn't understand. You said, discussion. We'll have discussion. Yeah.
Sweet. So, how did you want to start? I mean, you can talk about what you asked Kent Hovind with the out of Africa hypothesis. You wanted me to ask you about single nucleotide polymorphisms.
That's, it's the out of Africa claim, right? That you got SNPs that connect each lineage to the next lineage, right? That's what the claim is, right?
Um, I mean, you can sort of trace back the SNPs. Yeah, sure, that would form a nested hierarchy within the African haplogroups.
Right. Right. That's the idea. Is that basically one came from the other, and then you go on down the line, and you have all these S&P markers that you know support the idea, right?
Yeah, that's one line of evidence. The other would be that the most amount of genetic diversity is in Africa.
But not with the haplogroups. No, not with
Yes.
not with mtDNA and not with Y chromosome haplogroups. The
Yes.
majority, all you have to do is look at the haplogroup maps. The majority of the haplogroups are in basically like Uzbekistan or West Asia,
So
basically
you're just counting the raw number of haplogroups, but you're not actually looking at how
the
similar they are to each other.
well, it's the number, it's the diversity is the number of haplogroups. That would
No.
be diversity to me.
No, the diversity is talking about the actual genetic sequence and how similar the genetic sequences are when you compare two haplogroups. So the
Well,
diversity within the genetic sequences within Africa is much, much more than the diversity of all of the haplogroups outside of it.
I mean, I don't deny that Africa doesn't have diversity because for years they've had trade back and forth, genetic information going back and forth, all the time. But as far as the haplogroups, all they have in Africa is A, B, and E. Basically, that's all they got in Africa.
You're
You know what
talking
I'm saying?
about Y chromosomes, correct?
And empty DNA is all they got in Africa is L one, two,
Well,
three, four, five,
all of
six.
the
L.
mitochondrial DNA outside of Africa nests within the L3 haplogroup
Yeah,
of Africa.
that's the claim. That's the claim, right? That's the claim.
Oh, yeah,
But
it's
but
demonstrated
there's
by the
more.
genetics.
No, but there's more haplogroups outside of Africa than there is inside of Africa.
Right? That's just a
Absolutely.
number. So that's
All you got to do is look at you know, the empty DNA maps and the Y chromosome maps. They're two different maps. Just you can see all the diversity in the Levant area and West Asia, and then as you go like to
you're
Europe,
not looking at diversity though. All you're looking at
then
is the number of haplogroups. You're not looking at the diversity of the genetic
I mean
sequences.
that's diversity is the basically it's well I would say the grandsons of Noah, but you aren't there yet, but
But
you got 16 grandsons of Noah. Most of the grandsons are outside of Africa, and as you go into Europe, you got what R1A and R1B. That's you call that diversity. That's not diversity. You go to America, you got Q and C. That's not diversity.
right, but
You
the
go to
number of
Australia,
SNPs
you got
would be.
Australia, you get K and C. That's not diversity.
But you would not measure, nobody would measure the diversity by just checking how many haplotypes are there. That's not the measure. The
Well, I
measure
mean,
is what is the genetic sequence of those haplotypes and
yeah,
how
but
many
I
SNPs
mean,
are there.
obviously, if you're getting more haplogroups outside of Africa, you're getting more diversity outside of Africa because those are the major lineages
No,
of
that's where you're wrong on that. That
of
you're
the
getting
outs.
most diversity within Africa. Like that
No,
that's
but they're
where
not
your
in Africa.
fundamental mistake is that you're thinking that
But they're
because
not in
there's
Africa. They're not in Africa. They're outside of
no,
Africa.
I know, but that's where you're mistaken is that the
Well, I mean,
most genetic
how do you
diversity
know?
for Y chromosomes and
How do you know you're
mitochondrial
not mistaken? How do you know you're not mistaken that all
because
the
I've read the
diversity
papers
is
that
with the
go into this.
haplogroups outside of Africa? I mean, that's where the haplogroups are. Both mtDNA and Y chromosome. They're all
Okay,
outside of Africa.
this is what I'm trying to explain, right? The difference between two haplogroups outside of Africa is minuscule compared to the difference between two genetic haplogroups
Yeah,
within
I mean,
Africa.
that's what you're
Okay, there's
saying.
more
That's what you're
genetic
saying.
differences
That's what you're
within
saying. But
Africa than outside it.
how is that possible when you get all these other lineages? You got 16 lineages, most of which are outside of Africa. How is that possible that you got more diversity inside of Africa, unless except for autosomal from people passing through and stuff?
Yeah, because we
I,
because you
I,
can literally compare the number of like differences in the gene sequence, okay, between two haplogroups in
yeah,
Africa
you can
compared to
literally
outside.
compare all you want. You're not getting the different lineages. You're not getting the different autosomal information from all the other people outside of Africa.
There really is no
It's a
evidence-based
bogus
claim.
claim, Grace, and I'm trying to explain to you it's a bogus claim. It's nonsense. It's stupidity.
Okay,
But
well, please
anyways,
don't interrupt
how
me
about
to say
how
that in
about
the
we go?
middle of
How
my
about we go?
sentence.
How about we go back to the S&Ps? How about that?
Okay, fine.
Okay, but see, that was one of your claims was the diversity is inside. It's not inside. It's outside.
That's
And
not true.
I just proved it.
You
I
did
just
not
proved it
prove it.
because all the lineages are outside of Africa. Let's go to the S&Ps now. What's your claim on the S&P?
Well, SNPs would be a proxy of measuring genetic diversity. So if
No,
you have
no, no,
more
no, no, no,
SNPs,
no.
it's
It's
a more
S and
diverse
P. S
population.
and P is a marker that people share.
No, a single nucleotide polymorphism, an
Is
SMP,
a
is when you
marker.
wait, don't interrupt, please.
It's a
Is when
marker.
okay, come on, man. You can't interrupt in the middle of a sentence when I'm explaining something when I
Okay,
haven't even made a point
go
yet.
ahead. And speak gibberish. Speak gibberish. Then go ahead.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
speaking gibberish. I'm talking about the actual topic you wanted to discuss, SMPs. And I
No,
didn't get to say anything before
speak
you
gibberish.
interrupted.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Speak
So an
gibberish.
SMP is a single position, a single letter in the DNA sequence that varies between different groups of people, right? It's a
It's a
polymorphism.
single nucleotide polymorphism marker that people have in common.
People have in common, but people, it's not an SMP if everyone has it in common. That's my like what I'm trying to say is that
Oh, for
it's
crying out
different
loud. If
between
they
different
got the
people.
marker, they have it in common.
I don't think that you're understanding what an SMP here is, Jungle
If
Jargon.
they,
Okay, I've worked in the genetics lab. I'm trying
do
to
you have
explain
an
this.
SMP marker? Do you have an SMP marker?
Yeah, obviously I've got
Okay.
like
Okay.
billions of.
How about other people that have the same SMP marker as you? Do they have that in common with you?
Yes, obviously.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's all
Okay,
I'm saying. You're saying no, 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 no.
look, this is what I'm saying. If every human has the same letter at that same position, it's not an SMP. Okay, it's only an SMP if it's different between different peoples, and that means I can have
Oh,
the
for
same
crying out
SMP as
loud.
somebody else at a certain position. Okay, but it
It's
means
a
I
marker
different than
that
other groups of
people
people.
have in common. It's a marker that people share. Both people have the same marker.
Okay, I really think that you're trying to assert like you are completely accurate in what you're describing, but you're only giving a half truth, like to the full definition here. But fine, for the
You're
sake of
speaking
argument, move
gibberish.
on from the definitions. What is your claim about SMPs?
No, I'm asking you about the S&P markers. This is what it's all about. I'm asking you what does it mean? What does it mean?
Okay, so the diversity in SMP markers that we see is the greatest in African genomes.
Well, that's not. Yeah, but if people don't share it, it doesn't mean anything. What's the one that
No, it
people
does mean something
share?
if people don't share it. If it's different
What
between
does
people
it?
groups, that means they're
The
more
ones
different from
that
each other.
people. No, it just means more It just means they had more mutations. It doesn't mean anything. It just means they mutated more.
Yeah, okay. So then your only
But that's.
claim would be
But
that
other
African people
people
wait,
don't
stop
share
interrupting,
those
man. Like when I'm
mutations.
in the middle of a sentence and I haven't even made one
I'm.
point, man. Just please, I'm trying not to interrupt you. So please just show me the same courtesy, okay?
Yeah, but I'm talking
You
about ones
have to
that people
say,
share.
dude. Dude, come on. Okay, you have to say that the mutation rate for African populations would have to be higher than
No,
non-African mutation
nothing
like
about
mutations.
mutation rate. Nothing about you. I'm talking about SNP. I'm talking about out of Africa SNP markers. That's what I'm talking about. You're trying to get off the rails.
No, I'm not trying to get off the rails. We're saying that there are more diversity in SNPs within Africa
Oh,
than
for crying
outside of
out loud.
Africa, and you
But
acknowledge that.
that doesn't prove outside of Africa. That doesn't prove going out of Africa.
So the only way that that cannot prove it
I don't even
is
think you
wait,
don't
wait.
even know what the S&Ps
You don't
mean or
even let
how
me
it
make
proves
a
outside of
point,
Africa.
man. Like, just let me make one point and then respond to it, okay? Just please, like one point, then you make one point, then I
You're
make one point.
saying you already said it's a mutation. I know the mutations. I know they have a lot of mutations.
Okay, so then your point is that Africans have a higher mutation rate than non-Africans.
Well, for crying out loud, they have mutations. So what? I'm talking about mutations are markers that people have in common to tie people together. You're
People
supposed
can
to
have them in
you're
common
supposed
or
to be
different.
you're
Why,
supposed to
why
be
do you have to
tying
ignore the fact that they can be different and
you're
like they can be in
supposed to
common or
be
not?
the out of Africa claim is supposed to be tying Africans with Semitic populations with Eurasian populations. That's what the S&P out of Africa claim is. But you don't even seem to understand what the claim is.
No, I know very well what the claim is. P-Town, thanks for joining. Did you want to add anything, or are you just sort of a bystander right now?
Um, I was gonna try to be a mediator if needed be, but no, I
That could
don't have anything
potentially
to
be
add to this.
helpful.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting in reserve now,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I don't know
So
anything about this topic.
the out of Africa hypothesis, right, is accounting for the genetic diversity that we see outside
It's
of
got
Africa.
nothing to do with diversity. Nothing to do with diversity.
It
You're off
does.
Jungle,
already.
let him. Don't cut him off so much. Just let him talk a little bit.
I mean, I told him, go ahead and speak gibberish. He's speaking gibberish.
You're the one
I
asking the question. Let him answer.
yeah, I don't think I'm just speaking gibberish. I mean, I'm choosing my
We're
words
talking
carefully
about
to be
mutations that
accurate.
nobody shares. I'm not talking about mutations that nobody shares. I'm talking about markers that people do share.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about with markers that people have in common with each other?
Oh, for crying out. So you don't even know what the out of Africa claim is with the S&P markers,
Well,
right?
when I tried to
All
explain
right.
what the out
All
of
right.
Africa
All
claim
right.
is,
Thank
you
you.
interrupted me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so it just sounds like you don't want to have this conversation
You're
then.
just talking about mutations. The mutations are irrelevant. You know, the markers
Well,
that
they're
Africans have that
relevant.
nobody shares is irrelevant. You're
They're
trying to say
relevant because
you're
you
trying to
have to
say,
use
oh,
mutation to
they have
explain.
more diversity because they have more mutations. That's not even the point. That's not even the point of the out of Africa.
Okay, so to your understanding then, what is the point of out of Africa?
Well, maybe you better check it out because then maybe you have something to bring up against,
I'm decently well
talking
read on
to
it. I've had an entire
Donnie.
debate.
You could bring it up with Donnie and say, look at the S&P markers, look at this and out of Africa, and or somebody else. Maybe Nathaniel Jensen. Maybe you could bring it up with Dr. Nathaniel Jensen or somebody.
Yeah,
Look at
you know
these
who
S&P
debunked Dr.
markers.
Nathaniel Jensen? His
Look
own
at these
colleague, Robert Carter.
on the S&P markers.
Yeah, on haplogroups in the Y chromosome, Rob
No,
Carter
no,
has
no, no,
debunked
no.
Nathaniel Jensen.
I debunked Nathaniel Jensen on the Y chromosome. That's
Oh,
not
wow,
that's
great.
not
Then
the out of
congratulations.
Africa. That's not the out of Africa claim.
Okay, so then what is your debunk of the out of Africa claim then?
Well, I'm waiting for somebody to bring up the claim. I haven't seen
Dude,
anybody bring
I
up the
did
claim.
before, and you literally interrupted me
No,
before I
you
could finish
no, you
talking.
brought up mutations that nobody shares. That's not the out of Africa claim.
No, I will repeat it, but please don't interrupt. It's not even a long sentence that I'm trying to say here, okay? It's very easy not to interrupt it. Out of Africa claims, right, that a founder effect from a population leaving Africa like spread out across the rest of the world that's outside of Africa.
Yeah.
And
How?
this genetic founder event
Yeah.
explains the diversity outside of Africa.
Okay. What supports that claim? What supports the claim? It's not mutation. I'll give
Measurements,
you a hint. It's not mutations.
measurements of genetic diversity
No, it's not
on all the
diversity.
continents.
It's not the number of mutations. It's SNP markers.
Okay, you realize that SNPs are the result of mutations, right?
Oh, for crying out loud! It's SNP markers that people share. So get a clue.
Okay, you realize that when you have a mutation, that is a single nucleotide polymorphism.
Yeah, but if nobody shares it, you can't tie people together. You can
Yeah,
only tie people.
exactly.
Listen, Grayson, listen for a change. You can only tie people together if they share a marker that's an SNP. It's a single nucleotide polymorphism, one way or another.
Okay, I agree with you. What are you trying to? What point are you making?
The point I'm making is that the number of mutations that other people don't share is irrelevant. It's only the mutations that people do share that's irrelevant. That
Okay.
means something.
So if you look at the mutations that people do share, right, you still get a nested hierarchy within the African haplogroups.
That's the claim. Do you know how to support it? I mean, do you know how to present it or support it or present,
Yes, with genetics.
No. I mean,
Like, are you a
well,
geneticist? If I gave you the evidence, would you understand it?
I'm telling you, it's about SNP markers that people share.
Yeah, if I gave you the gene
Do
sequences
you know?
of the L3
Okay, how
haplo,
about this? How about this, smarty pants? What's the BT marker?
the
What's the C?
BT,
What's the CT marker?
the
What's
CT
what's
marker?
the CF marker? What's the CF marker? What's the
Go
BT
ahead,
marker?
explain to me what the
What's
CF
the
marker
CT
is.
marker? Well, see, you don't even know. You don't even know what they are. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are either offhand, but I know that there's a CT and a BT and a CF, and I know what they
To be quite honest with you,
I
Jungle
know what
Jargon,
they
I
mean.
don't think that you know what you're talking about.
No, I'm the one telling you about the BT marker that you don't even know about.
So
It's a
then what
CT
is the BT
marker.
marker then? Explain it to me.
Okay.
If you know it, you should be able to
Okay.
explain it.
Okay. The BT marker is a marker that's shared with B. You know what B is? BY haplogroup.
Okay.
Yeah. B, right? Not A, but B, right? It's a marker that B has. The B uh, descendants, anybody with a B haplogroup, they have a BT marker. You know who else has the BT marker?
Who else?
Everybody else except A.
Okay.
You know what the C? You know what the CT marker is?
Okay, I would assume that it's a marker within the C
It's
haplogroup.
it's a marker that the C haplogroup shares, not the B, not the A, but the D and the E, and everybody else shares the CT marker.
Okay, so you're talking about nested hierarchical patterns.
Okay. Well, that's what the claim is. Okay. How about the C? Do you know what the CF marker is?
Is it an F marker within the C haplogroup?
You're guessing. You're guessing. It's a C marker that C haplogroup shares. The D and the E do not share it, but everybody else shares it. The F, G, H, I, J. That's why it's CF. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. They all have it. And C has it, but not D, not E, not B, and not A.
Okay, so yeah, you're describing nested hierarchical patterns. So what's your point with that?
That's what the claim is, but you didn't know. You didn't even know what the claim was.
Okay, so what's your point with that claim?
No, it's not my claim. It's your claim. You're supposed to support. You're supposed to present it and
Well,
support
you
it.
just did my job for me then. You just presented all these different markers and showed how they were within nested hierarchies.
That's what the claim is.
But you just said that that's what those things
Okay,
are.
okay.
You're the
Backtrack
one
a
that
bit.
just brought that up.
Backtrack a little bit. Backtrack a little bit. Africans. Do you know what? What lineages the Africans are?
What lineage they are? That's
Yeah,
too
yeah,
vague of a question to answer.
yeah. What lineages are Africans? They are they the? I mean, who are they
You
descended
have
from?
to ask in regards to either mitochondrial haplogroups, Y chromosome haplogroups.
Why
What are you talking
chromosome?
about in
Y
question?
chromosome? We're
lineage
talking
of what?
Y. We've been talking about Y chromosome SNP. SNPs are Y chromosome. Okay, so Y chromosome.
SMPs are Y chromosomes. See, you say stuff like that, and I just doubt that you know what you're talking
Single nucleotide polymorphisms are of the Y chromosome. That's how you verify which Y chromosome that you have. Have you ever taken a Y chromosome test?
about.
So
I've had a DNA test.
no, a Y chromosome test. What's your haplogroup? What's your
R1b.
no? What? Your Y chromosome haplogroup.
Yeah, R1b.
R1. You're an R1b.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're Eurasian.
yeah,
Okay, Mediterranean, Eurasian, Southern European. Yeah,
yes.
Ripfath, descended from Ripfath.
I don't know what that is.
But anyways, but who are the Africans descended from?
Who are the Africans descended from?
Yeah,
Other Africans.
yeah, and most Africans, well, one way or another, most Africans are probably descended from Mitzrayim, which is the father
You don't
of
have
all
evidence for that.
Egypt. Yeah, the haplogroup. Yeah,
You don't have evidence for
the
that.
Y, well, it's the Y haplogroup, but then there's the A, the B, and the D and the E.
Yeah, what about Khoisan haplogroups? Where do they come from?
They're A. Khoisan are A.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so that's the top of your A, B, C, D nested hierarchy that you explained earlier, the very most basal of them are A. So that you're suggesting that
It's not my
everyone
claim.
else came from a common ancestor with the
It's
Khoisan.
not my claim. It's not my claim. How about okay? Answer this. Who are the Africans descended from?
Other Africans.
Which descended from who? I mean, I already mentioned Mitzrayim. Who's the Mitzrayim descended from?
I don't know, Mizraim. I don't think that that's a real person.
Mitzrayim is Egypt. The Bible, when the Bible talks about Egypt, it calls Egypt Mitzrayim.
Okay, well, we know that all Africans did not descend from Egyptians, so
No, but one way or another, they could be. One way or
no.
another.
You even brought up the evidence for me that of the nested hierarchies.
Yeah,
of
but
the
it's either Mitzrayim or one of his three other brothers.
Well, the latest study that came out, I think either this year or last year, said that the most common ancestor for all humans was genetically traced to Sudan. So that's south of Egypt.
South of Egypt. What is that, an E? What was it, an E?
No, this is the total somatic genetic sequence. So this is including more than just Y chromosomes. This is using the whole DNA.
Assuming the out of Africa, right?
No, not assuming anything. They didn't. They just compared the genes of people living today, and they used ancient genomes as well. So that it was the biggest data set that has ever been compiled.
Assuming the designated order of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K.
They didn't make any assumptions like that. All they did was compare the diversity, and they compared the SMPs between all these genomes.
Well, it would have to be an A. It would have to be an AT if there's such a thing as an AT.
Okay, so you just said it right there. It would have to be an A, and the A are African. So you're supporting the out of Africa hypothesis.
Okay. So who are the Africans descended from?
Like other Africans. If you're asking about where did Homo sapiens come from, Homo sapiens originated in Africa and came from.
Do you know what the name?
Jungle Jargon. You're asking me questions and then you're talking over me when I'm trying to answer you. Okay. So the Homo sapiens in Africa descended from previous Homo groups like Homo erectus.
All right. Let's go there then. What about the Neanderthal? It's like A0000.
Yeah. So Neanderthals did not come from Homo sapiens. Neanderthals and Homo sapiens share a common ancestor.
But it is in the line of A0000, right? It is an A, right?
No. Neanderthal haplogroups no longer exist. They are not A's. They are from an earlier lineage.
But it is designated as A0000.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No. Neanderthal Y chromosomes are not A00 haplogroups.
Denisovans are designated A0000.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
We have their DNA. We know their Y chromosomes, and
but
they
you don't
are not African haplogroups.
you don't know that you don't even know the claim. The claim is that the root is with A, right?
No, no, no. The root for modern humans is like from like A, sure, but
Okay, right,
Neanderthals
right.
are not.
But Neanderthals are another branch, but they're connected to A.
No,
Is
they're
that
not. No, they're not. Why aren't you
is the
understanding or
A
listening to me
is
when
the
I say
root?
that? No, they are not. Go look it up. Go look up Y chromosomes in Neanderthals, and you'll see that their
I've
haplogroups
already
are
looked
not
at it.
nested within A.
I've already looked at it. They connect the root. They connect Neanderthals and Denisovans to A, the root
No,
as the A.
false. You are mistaken. Go
No,
look it up.
you're
Neanderthal
mistaken.
Y chromosomes are
It's not
not
my
related to any
claim.
that
It's
exist.
not even my claim. You don't even know what your claim is supposed to be.
I do know my claim. Obviously, Jungle Jargon, I know my claim. I'm
It's
saying your claim is
A.
incorrect.
It's designated as A000000, or
No,
I don't
they're
know how
not.
many
Go look
zeros.
it
Yes,
up.
it is.
Look,
I
Neanderthals.
don't have to look it up because I've already seen it.
Hold on. Let me explain. Neanderthals and Homo sapiens share a common Homo ancestor. I don't know if this is Homo
And
erectus
where
or
are they
Homo.
rooted?
Wait,
Where
stop interrupting, man.
and where are
Uh,
they rooted?
Can
Where
you
are they
just
rooted?
let me make a point before you interrupt? I'm trying to
You're
let you talk.
speaking
I'm trying not
gibberish.
to interrupt you.
Where are they rooted?
They are rooted in a previous Homo ancestor that is not Homo
Oh my
sapiens.
God. Which is rooted to what?
Are you asking for the haplogroup?
Their haplogroup is A. I already told you what the haplogroup is.
And
A000000.
you are incorrect about that. But I'm trying to
Go
clarify
look at
what
a
you're
map.
asking.
When we get off, go look at a map and you'll see what I'm saying.
You're incorrect. The guy that just won this
Okay,
last
just
year,
okay.
you got
Forget
Jungle
Neanderthals.
Jargon. Let me freaking talk, man.
Forget Neanderthals. Where is it rooted? Where is the root rooted? It's rooted in A, right?
Okay, for humans, yes. For Homo
Yeah.
sapiens, it is.
Okay, so Neanderthals are somehow connected to that root that's
No,
rooted in
incorrect.
A.
Incorrect. That's where you're mistaken.
We're
Neanderthals are
not,
not
Grayson,
connected.
listen.
Neanderthals,
Listen, Grayson,
jungle.
listen. We're not descended from Neanderthal. We're not descended from Denisovans. We're not descended. They're extinct. They went extinct.
Yes.
But the line that they were connected to, supposedly, according to your claim of out of Africa, is supposed to be rooted in A.
No, 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 no.
Oh, for
How many
crying out
times do I have
loud.
to say no? Our root for Homo sapiens.
I'm talking to an analphabet right now. I'm talking to an illiterate. You don't even know what your claim is supposed to be.
Jungle Jargon. I know precisely this. That's what I'm trying to explain, but you keep interrupting me over and over. Look
You're
at
an
who.
analphabet.
Dude, stop
You're an
interrupting.
illiterate.
Stop interrupting, man. I will
You're
mute you if you
illiterate.
don't
You don't
stop.
even know what the claim is.
Okay, so I've muted Jungle Jargon just so I can explain this because he won't let me finish talk. Okay, and he's left. Very mature. All right. Well, then I'll just explain this, and then P-Town, just let me know if my explanation makes sense to you. I'm not. You don't have to agree with it, but just let me know if it makes sense. Okay, that the
Okay.
the A group that he's talking about, that's the root for currently living Homo sapiens, right? It's our recent ancestry, our recent haplogroup is like the A haplogroup that he's referring to, right? But that does not mean that Neanderthals are also rooted to that group, because like Neanderthals did not derive from Homo sapiens. Like Homo sapiens and Neanderthals both derived from a
They both
previous
branched off
branch, yeah, a
in
previous
theory.
like non-Homo sapiens species.
So sorry about that.
No, that's okay, man. So, but yeah, that's basically the point I was just trying to get across here. But Jungle Jargon just really did not seem interested in letting me say it.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I'll go to a quiet spot.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I didn't see his point. I can only guess where he was trying to go with that.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly the most clear
So
about
this
what he wanted to talk about.
is he's obviously a creationist, right?
I
I've talked to
believe
Jungle
so. Yes.
Jargon. Don't remember him that well, but is he young Earth?
Yeah, I
Because I
believe
thought it was
so.
strange that. So does he think Neanderthals were animals then?
I think that he thinks the Neanderthals came from like a hyper, from Adam and Eve. They were just kind of like a degenerate or mutated population or something. I think
Okay.
that's a similar thing to what Donnie and Kent Hovind also believe.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well,
Yeah,
Ken
so
Hovind thinks that Neanderthals are like really, really old people, right?
I don't think I don't really know, honestly. I don't know what Kent thinks about Neanderthals. He touched on it briefly tonight, but he didn't bring that up tonight. So I
Grayson,
don't know.
I'm getting kind of sick, and I've been talking to so many atheists lately. I thought of something maybe you and I could do,
Sure.
and it's kind of a little bit different than normal. But I was thinking that we could talk about maybe is there any evidence or anything brought up by a young Earth creationist or a creationist, ideally a young Earth creationist, where maybe even you didn't know that much about what they were saying, but any evidence or science that was partly convincing to you or has an impact on you in the other direction?
So this is one of the things that I really like about these creation evolution debates is that like they teach me things that I didn't like know, or sometimes a creationist will ask a
Right.
question that I hadn't thought to ask before. So then I end up learning new things while like trying to research to figure out what the answer is. So typically, like a lot of examples of that kind of thing, like when I first entered this space, I had never heard about genetic entropy before. So the first time
Okay.
that was brought to my attention, I didn't really know how to respond. And then I ended up doing a ton of research at genetics and genetic entropy, like what the claim is. I read a lot of papers. So I got to learn a lot about genetics. And I ultimately learned that genetic entropy is not real. But to answer your question, I think in a way that's a little bit more satisfactory than that. Actually, I would give credit to, I think, you, um, because typically with creationist claims, I'll do research, and then there's typically a totally logical and reasonable scientific explanation for what they're talking about. And the only time where I haven't seen an explanation, and the only answer that I could really muster was whenever you or like I wasn't able to muster like a satisfactory answer was your question about the um like eclipses and how the sun and the moon are a similar size in the sky when we look up, and this allows for them to have eclipses, and like that's just seems like
You're,
a I
that's
can't
really
really
cool that
explain
you
that other
said
than a
that.
coincidence. So I don't know the answer to that one. So that would be one of the better ones that I said mustard, not like mustard.
Right.
Sorry,
It's okay.
somebody in the comments asked if I said mustard. I guess mustard like the past
But at
tense
least at least you see
sounds
the
similar.
mode of at least you see the mode of logic behind it, like the way that the how it does play some sort of role in probability. I know that when we first talked about that, I see it from your perspective too, where it's already there and we don't have anything else to compare it to. So it's just kind of a 1-to-1 probability if you look at it from that perspective. But yeah, that was actually really relieving to hear you say that.
Yeah, well,
I
I
was
mean that
actually surprised.
your question with like the size of the sun and the moon and how they allow for an eclipse and how they I don't really know of a reason why that would have to be the case. So
For
I don't really
to
have an
evolve, right?
explanation
To
for
to
it.
create life, and
Yeah, so I don't really
it's
have an
just an
explanation
additional.
for it. I'm still
Yeah.
open to somebody explaining a potential explanation, but that was the only time where I've ever, a creationist has ever posed a question to me where I wasn't, I didn't know how to answer it, or I didn't know what the answer would be for like a naturalistic explanation. I mean, there's nothing supernatural about the sun and the moon forming an
Right,
eclipse or anything, but it does seem like, kind of a coincidence that they would be approximately similar sizes
right.
to our
Like
visible eye.
put that into the Drake equation, right? Like, then it
Yeah.
would.
So
like
yeah,
that.
I'll
Right? You
give you
follow me?
credit on that one. That you've asked me a question before that has made me
So
think.
I'll give one. Um, the dog bear thing.
Yeah.
Like I haven't. So I'm since I am a little skeptical to learn to go study too much stuff on the evolutionary side without being able to put my hands on stuff because I do have a lack of trust for um like I do have a little bit of a lack of trust for the scientific community with and that's just and that could be it's not all people, but the point is I should look more into that. I think that something like that would or someone brought up like humanitarian to me, like that would shatter me.
Okay.
I think you
I don't
follow
know
me,
about
like that's
humanitang, but
or humanity, and I'm like, when someone brought that up to me and said that was fact, and a whole like 9 atheists in one stream,
I mean
and I was just like, if that's true, that would definitely impact me.
the best
You know,
example of like a missing link in human evolution would just be Australopithecus. Have you done any like reading about that?
remind me what that is, and I probably have,
Most
but I
people
don't.
know it from the first specimen found in the 70s, Lucy, the
Right. So
half
Lucy.
man, half ape.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm familiar with Lucy. In fact, Lucy was one of the first. When I was taught about Lucy, I was probably taught about in the wrong way. And that's, but partly my experience of learning about Lucy is why I have distrust in the scientific community because of the way I was basically taught that people were literally listening to that Beatles song. That's why they named her Lucy, apparently. And they
Yeah,
found bones
because of
sticking out
Lucy
of
in
the
the Sky
ground.
with Diamonds.
Right. And that's what I was taught. It wasn't quite like that. They were miles apart. The bones were miles apart. It was I think multiple year thing.
I don't know about what you're talking about with
I
the
can't
bones
remember.
being miles apart. Lucy is just one specimen, so all the bones were found together.
I don't think so. You might want to check that, but I haven't. But I could be wrong. See, I was taught
Yeah, I
that
mean,
as
like
well.
I'm saying, Lucy is just one specimen, but we have found multiple specimens since Lucy, multiple specimens of her species, which is Australopithecus, is the genus type.
Hmm.
So the Australopithecus basically has properties that are more human than any other, like chimpanzee or anything, but they're not quite human enough to be called a human. So
So
they're
I
like the
get it
transitional
a
species.
lot, right? And I get it. Like I see the logic there, but I think one thing that would convince me or move me closer to being convinced would be if they found fossils of their feet, because I think there's a big difference between monkeys'
We
feet
have.
and human
We
feet.
have found fossils of their feet. Look up the Dakika child. So this was a
Okay,
baby Australopithecus that was found with intact feet. And we've also found an adult male with intact feet as well.
and
And
it's transitory or
yes, so
transitionary.
the feet are transitory. They have an inline toe, which like chimpanzees in them don't have. It shows clear evidence that they were walking on 2 feet, and they have very human-like feet, except they're not human. Like there are differences.
There are okay.
Yeah, so I think that those are some great examples. There's one paper too, especially where they talk about like the transition between Australopithecus and the earliest like Homo specimens that we find,
Mhm.
and they're like almost a smooth gradient. I mean, it's like you have like late Australopiths that are like very similar to the early Homos. Like it's not like there's an in between group between them that we haven't found yet. It's like a smooth gradation. Like you see, like the brain size like growing steadily. Like Australopithecus is halfway between like humans and like modern humans and like chimpanzees in terms of brain size. And then like early homos have smaller brains than modern homos, but larger brains than late Australopithecus. Like there's this gradient of traits along the scale there.
And I follow the logic. I just find I find it hard to trust someone else telling me that, rather than me actually being able to look at the evidence and come to that same coming
So
to the conclusion myself. And in
would you
particular,
want to like
because
travel to these museums and see the fossils, or like what would satisfy you, like so that you could trust that they exist and they are transitional?
I don't know yet. I think that there's so much to this topic that you and I talk about, that there's a lot of other things that I would want to go and travel and see and touch and feel. But yeah, I'll look it up to see if there is something in my area, see if I have time to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
But the history behind finding these
yeah.
bones, right, is just like I remember studying the history of that scientific field, and it's not really something to stand on, you know, in terms of being able to just trust that community. And I know I'm overgeneralizing, and it's a
Well,
lot harder
I'm
now
aware of what
to
you're probably referring to with like the early history of paleontology and like those like competitions between people with big egos and faking their discoveries and all kinds of mess. But the thing that like I would just point to is like the peer review process. Like if you are like a young like paleontologist who like just got their PhD or something, you can make your entire career by proving that a previous paleontologist was wrong. Like you're set if you could do that. Like they have a motivation to tear apart each other's work because like that would be
right,
a
but
huge
it doesn't change the fact that paleontologists are still all beating the same drum. In order to be an established paleontologist, you still have to follow their paradigm. So you're not going to have a young Earth creationist, paleontologist, as far as we would define paleontologist, because it just goes against the whole field in general.
Well, think
This
about
is
this.
just an
If you had
example.
a young Earth, somebody that believed in a young Earth, and they're paleontologists, and they found like a new species of fossils, like the paleontology community would have to recognize their work. Like if they were just, you
Sure,
know,
as long as it fits with their paradigm. Even though I have minimal
no, that's
experience.
wait, Pete,
Mhm.
on that. Just sorry to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
I remember in the mid 2000s there was a paleontologist, and she's not a young Earth creationist, but she found like preserved soft tissues from dinosaurs, and nobody
Right,
was
I'm
really.
familiar with her.
Yeah, and so she had an uphill battle. I mean, lots of people, like if what you were saying is true, they would have just like they would not have allowed her to publish her results. They would not have talked about it, but yet they did. Like she published her study, and lots of people disagreed, but it passed through peer review and she was allowed to publish. She kept her career, she wasn't shut off, and if anything, she was proven right. So I think that if you can find the evidence, like even if like paleontology, if it doesn't fit the current paradigm, if you find the evidence like she did, then you can overturn the paradigm. Like she's a
But
good
also,
example of that.
from my perspective, and I haven't personally talked to the lady, but I do believe that she was pushed hard to, to reveal this information in a particular way, and probably was indirectly threatened with her job and her career. I think that was the case, and in that example, I mean,
And
whenever you
she's been
find
vindicated. Like we have found more like soft tissue preservations in fossils that have vindicated her discovery and proved that she was right. And she never lost her job. I mean, she had to contend with arguments, but that is part of the scientific process. And like, she was
but what I'm
proven right in
saying
the
is,
end by the evidence.
but what I'm saying is, there's no young Earth creationist who's being funded to go, who's being funded and has that degree, who can go do this particular research
I
and
think that's
then
just because young Earth creationists don't.
also get published in those secular journals. I'm saying it's not the way that people think science works and the way that it is defined to work. it's very exclusive. It's very exclusive now. Whereas it should, like you and I, we think we're going to deduce. If you have a theory, people are going to attack it, and it's going to make it stronger. It's always going to change. In essence, this is science. But when you exclude who can be part of that process, it's discouraging,
I
and
mean,
it deems
you
it
can
deems it
get
less trustworthy to me.
you can become a paleontologist and get a degree being a young Earth creationist. I mean, I'm not aware of young Earth creationists actually doing it and doing the work and making discoveries.
But this presumption that you think that you can be genuine to what you believe and still be a paleontologist, I don't think that you actually really believe that, though, Grayson, because
I do. Like James
how
Tour.
can you write your thesis? How can you get your PhD? How can you answer the questions on a multiple choice test? Is the world A 6,000 years old, or B, is it 4.2 billion or whatever?
Because that's
Like,
not
come
going
on,
to come up
you
on a
follow
test.
me? You're not going to pass that test,
Yeah, because
right?
that's not a
Unless you're
question on a
disingenuous
test. You'll be
yourself.
tested on your knowledge of paleontology.
What I'm saying is that a lot of that quote unquote knowledge is going to go against what you believe along the whole, 8 years that you have to go to school.
So
And
does
you
that
might
mean
not,
that you just can't learn it?
what I'm
Like
saying is you can't be genuine.
if a young Earth creationist wanted to go get a degree in paleontology, they might have to memorize some facts that they don't agree with, but that doesn't prevent them from being able to pass a test. I mean, they can still get the degree.
Yeah, we're going off into a little bit of a philosophical, and I agree with you there. Someone can change who they are or pretend to be someone who they're not in order to fit in with the crowd that they can one day ascribe to be. And it takes many years after getting your degree to be able to get funding, to be able to intern, be able to go out and do something. And then you have to work your way through to the top to be able to publish papers and to get money to do your work, which really it doesn't contribute to the economy. All of these things, while you're not honest with the whole time, just trying to pretend to be somebody else. When you said you just don't have any, it's because the system is set up that way as well, Grace. And there's plenty of people out there who, and when I say plenty, I say it's the minority, and it's going to grow increasingly the minority. But it's set up like there are some people who would like to do that, but it's really just set up against them. And I don't think it's advantageous to science.
So I think James Tour is a good example of he doesn't specify whether he's young Earth or old Earth, but he is a creationist and he is a very well published scientist. And he talks about this, and he just says that his creationist belief doesn't impact his work in science. Like it doesn't factor into his like scientific papers that he publishes.
Okay, so I'll try and frame it from this perspective. Okay, so if you're able to put away your predispositions, Grace, and just try and if you could just forget what you already know, if people are able to do that, and you take a hypothesis that say Noah's flood did exist, and then have some predictions about the things that we might find, right? If the global flood did happen,
Yeah.
there's a long list of evidence. There's a lot of evidence that could be predicted and discovered, right? There's a
I mean,
lot that
I
points
already
to it.
disagree with that, but I'll let you make your point.
Sure, but you're also, but that's why it's important to what I'm saying is it's evidence towards it, but you putting it, and this is why I said put away your predispositions, because you're going to say I have a better explanation. But what I'm saying is, if you look, if you pile, there is still evidence that could associate with there being a global flood at some point in time, right? And then,
I mean, I
so for
don't
me,
see what the evidence is of a global flood, to be honest. I'm not aware of any evidence.
okay, I'll give you an example. We would hypothesize that there would be, I don't know, fossils of clams on mountains. Okay, it's just
Okay.
simple one, right? And so then we go, well, oh, look, here's some clams on some mountains, right? Check the box. There's an evidence, right? So That I'm just little things like that. There's a lot of evidence that points towards a global flood. Or we would say we would find fossil graveyards. Okay, there's lots of fossil graveyards all over the earth. Okay, check the box. Right, so I'm saying if you're able to put away what you think you already know, there is a lot of evidence that points if you just list it all out. For me, when I coming from being an atheist to now a Bible believing Christian, what I do is it's not necessarily just which one's better, because sometimes you can find evidences that you can't actually fully explain by one or the other, or fully discredit, because you just don't have enough time on your hands. But you're gonna weigh which one might have more evidence, and you're weighing these two options. And I do think that young Earth creationism has a role to play, but just isn't allowed. Am
I
I
mean, I think
bouncing
that it
around
was
too
a
much?
serious. I think that it was a serious scientific contender, like in the 1800s, like back when most
Certainly was.
scientists were young Earth creationists.
Correct. Yeah. And there was this transitionary period where, it started in geology, I believe, right? And
Yep.
it kind of
Lyle.
compounded through all the other. Yes, it started with Lyell, and then it would go to Charlie Boy, and then. But what happened in this scientific field is it became exclusionary. And for example, when you have the theory of plate tectonics, the scientists that have had those theories before it was termed plate tectonics, they thought that the global flood and the fountains of the deep and this event, this catastrophic event, there was evidence for it, right? And so they were some of the first people to discover, oh, the Earth's cracked open a little bit, and these places are still moving, but they are not going to get published in all the different languages solely because they don't have a purely naturalistic approach to it, because they're coming, like with the guy that you gave an example where he's a creationist, but he's able to conduct his work without having a creationist viewpoint. Well, you can't really do that when you're a Christian, because you're going to be looking for evidence of what you already presume or know to be the truth. It's okay to go look for scientific evidence, I believe, that points towards God's story. And if you do that, I think that there's a lot that does point to it. And there's a lot of things that God predicted, either revealed through his Bible or revealed through the world we live in. And that's what I think. I mean, if you just look at a globe, Grayson, and you look at the mountain chains around it, and the Earth does look like it kind of cracked open at one point. It's just
I don't
simple
really think so.
observation like that. You don't think
I
so?
don't.
You don't think that
Yeah, I
they?
mean, how does it look like it cracked open? I don't get it.
So there's a couple. I think there's one particular spot, and I think it's in the book of Isaiah, and this is just me being speculative here, but I think it describes the Earth being like a round potter's vessel. Okay. And then if a potter's vessel breaks, it has like pot shards, but you can put them all together. If you look at a globe in general, and if you imagine the water being away, it's all the various different plates, and the deepest parts either have a big mountain chain or they have a big chasm. It looks like, to me, there was an event that took place. And I do believe that there's lots of evidence that points to a catastrophic event taking place that, I'm bouncing around a little bit, Grayson, but just with the minimal science that I know, if you look at the reversals of at these, take the mid-Atlantic ridge, for example, and you can see the reversals and the polarity of the rocks, which you brought up a lot as evidence for your timeline. I look at that and go, okay, there were reversals, but then they stopped reversing for whatever reason. And it seems like to me that this flipping either of the crust or of the core, I presume it's the crust of the Earth actually spinning at the time of the flood. causing the relationship between the crust and the core to be the reason why we perceive that these rocks closer to the surface have been, polarized in different directions. But I think the evidence is that it's a much shorter period of time because that polarization stops. It doesn't continue throughout the constants. This is just one example. Hopefully you followed that.
Sorry. Could you kind of repeat what you were saying about magnetic pole reversals?
So you've brought it up before, right? So you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you go to the mid-Atlantic ridge and
Like the
then you start to work your way up.
Yeah.
But if you look at, and I'm going off the maps that they've drawn, they go out, and these maps are usually look like zebra stripes, right? They're darker.
Yes.
They're lighter. They're darker. They're lighter. But then eventually, it doesn't just teeter out; it stops. Right? The polarity discrepancies stop, and in the barest sense, that's to me evidence of it. It just fit with my personal interpretation of what happened according to Scripture. But it's often used by evolutionists as evidence of their long time scale, right? And how long we know how we know that there are reversals and so on and so forth, how they happen every 10,000 years. Well, to me, those reversals, patterned with what I believe to be true, can be explained, and I think the evidence better supports it, simply because it doesn't go all the way across North America, right?
Well, it wouldn't go across like continental crust, like it would just go across oceanic crust.
Okay, does it go all the way to the oceanic crust?
I
It
don't
kinda
know where the
stops.
range of like the polarity reversals like would stop. I know that it is a function of distance to the mid-Atlantic ridge, but I don't know where it teeters out. I'll do some digging into that maybe to see. But I mean, it makes sense to me that it would not go over onto continental crust. So you're saying that these like the evidence that we see for a pole reversal in this oceanic crust, all that happened within 1 year? Like all of these different pole reversals were all within the span of 1 year of the flood?
Yes, yeah, I do think so. Unless there's something, I would presume that to be true. Yeah. So, and again, a lot of it's patterned in different parts of Scripture, and a lot of it is, just definitely would be conjecture and be challenged by most anyone who. But if you piece it all together, I think it makes sense. I can't fully explain it. I mean, but yeah, instead of I do. I think since it doesn't peter out, it just stops. I think that it fits the model that I have better. But the point is those pole reversals are used continually by evolutionists to support another theory and another theory and another theory that I think the original evidence points more towards what I believe.
Okay, so I just found a map here, and it looks like it does stop right at the continents, like I was saying.
Okay, so I'm glad we're having this discussion. I'll have to look into that because I didn't think that there was a difference. I never thought to be a difference between oceanic and continental crust.
So when I look at the map I'm looking at right now, it's just called. Let me see the full title. Well, it just says magnetic evidence for seafloor spreading. All I did was search pole reversals mid-Atlantic ridge map, and then I just looked at the maps that provide the sequences that you're talking about, the kind of like zebra stripe pattern as we get farther from the mid-Atlantic ridge.
You should
And
be
it
able to
shows it
put it
for
up.
the. Huh?
You should be able to put it up if you wanted to on StreamYard.
I don't know how to do that. Do you know? Do you know?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it done. I've done it actually. Yeah.
I'm not an exact aficionado with
We'll do it a
StreamYard
different
at the
time.
moment.
That's just I don't have my computer open ever when I call in on these things because I use my phone. So I'll look at that, Grayson. That's a good point. I think that, but let me ask you a question. If it didn't go all the way across all the oceanic floor, could you see the possibility of why I would look at that and go, okay, that fits kind of a shorter term model where it happened and it didn't happen.
I still don't know exactly how it would fit a shorter term model because like the amount of heat that would be released for all of that rock to be formed and to spread out that quickly within a year, I think like for the continents to move around that much, like within a year, the amount of heat that would be released, I think would be like a tremendous amount that would probably boil the oceans.
Well, I mean, the oceans still boil now. Yeah.
What do you mean
Yeah,
the
I've
oceans
I've
still
heard
boil?
that recently. Like if it's I've heard that argument from evolutionists recently where they're like the heat that would be caused is enough to burn 1,000 Earths. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, but they talk about it from like a molecular level.
Yeah, that's like the
Like
heat
I think it's
from that's like the heat from radioactive decay.
something
Um,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was
and
just talking
like
about the heat from like super fast tectonic movement, like you're talking about. Like that would be another source of heat.
right a lot of when this type of rock is formed, though, it's kind of a spilling out, not at a rapid, instantaneous thing. I mean, this is the type of rock that's formed by lava,
But it would have to
correct?
be like traveling hundreds of miles away from the source in less than a year to form the patterns that you're talking about for the magnetic pole reversals.
Right, and I'm not a geologist, so exactly how that formation would happen, I don't know. Right, but there's little there again. I mean,
Do you think,
mm,
and we'll start wrapping it up here soon, but do you think that potentially, like, because you talked about trust earlier, and do you think that any of this
mm,
could be biased because you don't trust some of the more uh, like scientific geology sources that are like old earth and you kind of are
mm.
wary of them, but you do a lot of reading on this topic from like creationist sources that you do trust. So do you think that any of it could be from like the type of information that you expose yourself to kind of lends you to seeing a lot more evidence for one side than the other?
Yeah, I believe it or not, I think most of I don't know how much of my personal beliefs are formed from creationist information, because Kent stuff is really surface level to me at this point. Um, I mean, you can go anywhere, and you won't find anyone who just brought up what I just brought up. That's something that I've observed from documentaries, scientific documentaries. Or before, when I was an atheist, like if you want me to talk about, I'm not an expert by any means in anything really. I think I might know a little bit more than most, and even though I'm not the best at talking, I don't remember all of the terms, but I have a pretty good conception of a lot of things than most people, I
Yeah,
think.
and I really do actually like. I appreciate you coming on these shows. I mean, the fun in this is getting able to have a back and forth with creation and evolution. So I really appreciate your contributions, though. I'm gonna add Jungle Jargon back onto the stream.
I'll let you guys do
Hopefully,
this.
hopefully he can control himself. Hey, Jungle.
How about you control your mouth? I mean, you're making stuff up.
All
You
right.
don't
Well,
even
that is
know. You
quite a
don't even
way
know
to
what you're
join.
talking about. You don't even know what you're talking about. And you tell me to show sources. I got videos that I spend hours presenting sources. I can't
Okay.
look. I
Can you?
can't show you a picture right now. You can just look it up.
Okay, well, what I'm reading for right now is from Stanford Medicine. Why chromosome genes from Neanderthals extinct in modern men? They're not in the A group. So,
It doesn't say they're not in the A group. They says they're extinct,
yeah, and we still have A group Y
and they
chromosomes.
don't. It don't. They don't designate it as A unless you go look at a chart where the root is. Then you'll see them, both Neanderthals and Denisovans, rooted in A. Because where else are they going to be rooted?
They're rooted outside of A.
No, no, they're humans. Neanderthals and Denisovans are both humans, and they're connected to a root that's in A.
Okay, so I agree that they're both humans, but they are
Oh, for
not
crying
Homo
out loud.
sapiens. And the A group is for Homo sapiens.
No, but they're designated as A0000. And the same
And
thing with
what is your
Denisovans.
source for that?
No, it's not my claim.
I
It's not
know
even
if
my
it's not your
claim.
claim, then it should be coming from a source.
Yeah, it's your
So
supposed
where
claim
did you
that
read
you
that?
don't even know what your claim is.
So where did you read it?
I tell you, if you can do a search right now, I can't do a search right now. I'm not on my computer.
Okay, well I'm reading an article
You
right
can do
now
a
about
search. Go to maps and put in there Neanderthal root human Y chromosome,
Neanderthal root
or just put
human Y
Neanderthal.
chromosome.
Go to maps. It's got to be on maps, and then you'll do the A0000 or whatever.
What do you mean maps? Like Google Maps? What are you talking about?
No, or images. Go to images, not maps.
Oh, okay,
Images,
images. Okay,
images. Yeah,
sure.
and
And what do you?
just
So
put
I
in
searched Neanderthal
Neanderthal
root.
humans. Put Y chromosome humans Neanderthals and
Okay,
Denisovans,
sure.
and you'll see the image. Go look at all
Oh,
the
here it is.
images.
I found the image. I want to show this because it shows you're not correct.
Go look
How
at
do
the
I show this?
images, and you'll see they're
Yeah,
connected.
I'm looking
They're
at the image right
rooted.
now. A00 is not part of Neanderthals. I'm
Not zero
trying to
zero.
show it
It's
on the
not zero
screen.
zero. It's 0000. Or
So it's not the same as human haplogroups.
oh, for crying out loud! It's rooted in A. Go
Okay, let
look
me
at
show you that it's
all.
not rooted in A. Let me
Don't
figure
just
out how to
look
do a
at the
screen
first
share.
image. Don't look at the
I,
first there. Look at all the images, and
I've
you'll
got the
find.
image, Jungle. I've got the image. I want to do a screen share. I need to figure out.
Does it have Neanderthals on there?
Yes.
It
And it's
has
got
the
Denisovans, and they're not in A.
and it's got the Denisovans and Neanderthals. And where is it rooted?
It is rooted. Um, it doesn't refer outside of A00. There's Spy 94A. There's Mesomakia 2, El Cedron 1253. There's a bunch of groups
No,
that are
no. Go
outside of
look
A.
at more images. Look at more images and find one with Neanderthals and Denisovans connected to the human family tree.
Yes, this is what I'm showing right now. Denisovans and Neanderthals, and they do not share the
Is it
A
connected?
designation.
Is it connected to the human family tree? Because they are
This is
human.
literally from an article called "The Evolutionary History of Neanderthal and Denisovan Y Chromosomes," and
Right,
it
but
literally is showing that you're incorrect.
no, it's not my claim. My claim is not that Neanderthals are rooted in A.
So where do you think they're rooted?
I don't think I know where they are, but that's
Then where
another
do you know they're
story.
rooted?
That's another story. We're still talking about what your claim is supposed to be.
I've debunked your claim, man.
No, it's your claim. It's not my claim.
Okay, well, my claim is that they are not rooted in A, and I just found evidence that they're not.
Okay, where are they rooted then?
I'm trying to show the freaking how do you do
Where?
screen share
Okay,
on?
they're not rooted in A. Where are they rooted? Are they rooted in B, C, D,
No,
E,
no,
F?
no. A, B, and C are all Homo sapien haplogroups. They are not rooted in Homo sapien haplogroups.
Well, keep looking for images because you're not on the one that
Yeah,
shows
okay,
because
because
they
I'm
don't
finding
all
stuff
show
that
it.
clearly debunks you, then I must be finding
No,
the wrong stuff.
come on, take your time and keep looking for an image that
Jungle, will you ever, under any
Neanderthals
circumstances, ever admit to being wrong
and
about anything?
Denisovans rooted to the human family tree. Where is it rooted? Is it rooted in A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
None
Where is
of
it
those.
rooted?
None of those. None.
So it's not rooted.
No,
So
no, it's rooted
they aren't human.
outside of the Homo sapien
So they're
haplogroups.
not human. So they're not
No.
connected to
Please,
humans.
you know the difference between humans
Well,
and Homo
keep
sapiens,
looking until you find it.
right? Jungle. Do you
Keep
know the
looking
difference
until you
between
find it.
jungle, jungle,
You don't even know what the
jungle,
claim is.
jungle? Do you know the difference between humans
Why
and
should
Homo
I
sapiens?
why should I waste my time with somebody who has no clue what he's talking about?
think I have demonstrated that I
You
do know
have
what I am
no
talking
clue
about.
what you're talking about
Okay,
because they're
are you just
labeled
going
as
to keep insulting and interrupting?
A000.
Are you just going
Both
to keep insulting and
Denisovans and
interrupting?
Neanderthals.
Is
Keep
all you're
looking
going
and
to
you'll
do
find
is
it.
insult and interrupt?
Keep looking, you'll find it. I'm not insulting you. I'm telling you that you don't have a clue what you're talking about. It's not an
And you
insult.
think that that's not insulting?
That's
That's
not
like
an
you're
insult
definitionally insulting me.
because you're claiming like you know what the facts are, and you don't even know what the facts are. You don't even know what the claim is.
I do know all those things.
Okay, where is it rooted then?
It's rooted
You have
within
no clue.
Homo, but not within Homo sapiens.
Oh, for crying! And with where is it rooted? Where do they connect to our family tree?
Are you asking like what our most
You're
recent common
clueless.
ancestor
You're
was?
clueless. Bye. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye,
Bye. Bye.
Jungle.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Jungle. Have fun.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining the after show. I think we all saw how that went. Hopefully, we can get some creationists in here that are a little bit more less interruptive and are actually interested in having an open, honest, and intellectually genuine conversation because I think we all find these topics to be quite interesting. So, my next after show is going to be after my next debate on SFT's channel with Jamie on the Big Bang and evolution. It's going to be on January 9th. So I hope everyone can join me then, and hopefully we can get a little bit higher quality of interlocutors beyond Jungle. So have a good night, everybody.